All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. My name is Richard Peterson. I'm the vice chair of this. Our chair is taking his son to college, so I get to run the meeting tonight, I guess. Our first order of business is the approval of minutes from our last zoning board of appeals meeting and the executive session that preceded it. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Can I make a motion that we hold off on that till Andy's back? Because he's
Okay.
in the minutes. So what we'll do is we'll vote when he's here.
Okay.
So can we just vote to
Continue
continue on that?
the minutes until the next meeting?
The next
Okay.
meeting.
Is that all right with you?
Well,
I'll mention, I'm going to,
make a motion, please.
I make a motion that we delay the approval of the minutes until the October meeting so that Andy can vote on the minutes of the meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Say aye.
All opposed?
3-0, got it.
All right, so this is going to continue.
Until next month.
Okay. The second item on the agenda is the petition, should I read this right? Petition for a special permit under 17540C4 to construct an apartment building within the TC zone at 207 Bedford Street. The petitioner has asked that this item be continued until our next meeting. Is there anyone who wants to speak on that? Please identify yourself and...
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Walter Sullivan. I'm the attorney for the applicant. Paul Marabino is the project engineer. We had continued the planning board meeting to October 31, mainly because of result of comments from our prior meeting. We've reduced the units that we're seeking from 11 to 9, which has made significant changes to the site plan, which we submitted to both boards this week. So we would like to be continued to the next hearing for this board. I believe we're currently scheduled at the planning board for October 31.
And when is our next meeting? Do we have that calendar? Oh, there's Tony, okay.
Sorry.
That's all right, we weren't gonna start without you.
We looked for
weren't
you.
sure if you were here.
We sent the dogs out.
Yeah.
Has the traffic limited?
So we have a meeting October 14th and a meeting November 18th.
I would think November 18th. If they're
November
not meeting
18th.
till, I would like to move it to November.
That would be fine.
Do
Okay.
we have enough time on that? Everything's,
I believe we do, because it's a resubmit, correct?
That's correct. We'd be happy to give an extension to it.
I'd like to move that to the November meeting then.
That's fine.
My suggestion then to the board would be that we move this to the November meeting.
I'll give a motion for that purpose.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So that'll be continued.
Thank
until
you.
the
Okay, thank you.
November meeting.
Thank you.
All right. The next item on our agenda is the petition of Jonathan Carnes, 24 Cook Way.
Yes, President.
What's that?
Present.
Present, okay. And there are applications for a special permit under 175-32-1 for an in-law apartment at 24 Cook Way. And please identify yourself and...
Yes, good evening. My name is Jonathan Carnes. I'm one of the owners of 24 Cook Way, applying for this special permit for an in-law apartment. I did, according to the bylaws, post this with the newspaper. I have 2 copies of the printings, the copies. I can
Just
answer.
provide it to her after.
Oh, yes, of course.
Thank you.
I believe they were posted on the 25th of August and the 1st of September. And in addition to that, I can answer any questions the board has. I have some proposed drawings of the plan for the apartment. The apartment comes in, I believe the bylaw requires it be under 900 square feet. So far, the estimate for the project is 693.875 square feet.
And that's on the updated plans you have?
Yes, they haven't been obviously filed yet, but that's what I've drawn up myself.
and that's what you're staying with, that number, what was it again?
The livable space will be, or is approximated at,
600.
693.875 square feet. I'll disclose it doesn't include a wall-to-wall closet in the bedroom or a closet underneath the stairs.
Anyone here have any questions?
We had a question about the egress from the basement.
Right.
There are two means of egress, so I can show you the plan if you'd like. You have a back door that goes out the back. It's a slider door right now currently, and then you have the exit through the main house essentially. So there's stairs that come down and you're able to exit either through the front door, or we have a side door as well between in what we call the mudroom. It's between the garage and the main part of the house.
So will both parties have access to those?
They will, yeah. So the individual that's going to be living there is actually my mother-in-law. She's also a co-owner of the house, and she will have full access to the main house as well. So she'll be able to either leave up the stairs and through the main part of the house. There's 4 different ways to exit the house. There's the garage, there's the mudroom door, the main door, and then the door out the back to a deck. And then she'll also have her own private exit essentially out of the apartment from the slider doors.
And are those egresses noted on your plans?
The 2 in the basement where the apartment are. The others are already on file, I believe, with the
But the
main
2 in the
house.
basement are clearly noted on the plans?
Yes,
correct?
you can see clear stairs here, and then there's a door right here.
Okay.
If the board would so ask, I could write in that they were doors or means of egress.
I just, if you could physically point those out on the plans, if I'm looking at the plan that you just presented, could you actually tell me where,
Sure.
looking at the plan?
If I, and these haven't been submitted yet, so there is a plan on file for, here, I can give you all 3. They're basically the same picture, they just stay picked. One is just a broken down example of the rooms. One has the measurements of the various rooms of the livable space, and one is the square footage. And then I've got one that's just highlighted showing the actual livable space.
And are these egresses stairwells, or are they windowsills, or?
One is a stairwell, one is a full slider door, so it's 30 inches when you open it all the way.
Okay. That's important, thank you very much.
And could you show me where that is?
Sure.
I still don't see it, I'm sorry.
Yep, slider door, if I may stand next to you here.
Yeah, no problem.
Slider door is right there. That's
And that
the,
leads outside, okay.
It
that
goes right to the
goes
outside to level
What's that,
ground.
on the foundation
uh,
itself?
it is, so this is all above ground actually. So they built the foundation in the basement, so it's actually level with the back.
Okay.
And so you can actually walk right out, there's no stairs, no slope or anything like that. And then, of course, you've got the main house up here.
So
there's a
that's it
stairwell.
right there.
That's correct. Yep.
And what was the
And
other
then you've
one?
got the main staircase that
Okay.
goes back up into
So
the
you
main
get 2
house.
egresses, great.
That's right.
Anybody else want to see that? or-
No, I think that's what I wanted to see on the plan, that's all. So this dark spot right here on the back wall is the slider? Yeah.
Do you think we should have a note that on the plan so it's clear to our
Yes.
zoning people?
I'm happy also to submit a copy of the drawing I have that shows the various rooms as well, so you can see there's actually a hallway now that'll exist that will go from
That's
the main
important to do,
livable space.
yes, please do.
Yep, I can,
Yeah, because the egress is very important, that's for sure.
yeah. Actually, I have copies of all this, so if you want to take all 3 of these. I
We have actually, it's the same thing, I mean,
Okay,
basically.
yeah, that's just the only thing that
It just wasn't.
That shows,
it just
that
wasn't-
shows the hallway that I don't see on mine?
It does, so I actually drew this
Oh.
myself. This is what I plan to submit for.
I'd like you to have a copy of one. I want her to have.
You have all the copies, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Another issue that has been coming up of late regarding any petitions for special permits or variances is the availability of water. And I was wondering if one of you wanted to address that. I have a question about that specifically.
Do you have any questions about that? Because water department,
So all I can say about that is it won't change the number of people that already reside in the house. And so there won't be any more or less water used. It'll just be changed where it's coming from. We are adding a full bathroom downstairs, but again, the individual who is going to live in this apartment actually already resides in the house and is using the same amount of water and is a legal resident.
but you do understand that even if we do accept this
Yes.
and approve it, there is a water delay in the town. We just
Oh, a
want-
ban, you mean?
All right, yeah.
Oh,
ban.
yes, no, we're aware of the ban,
Right,
yes.
there's no hookups available right now.
Oh, okay, yeah, no.
So
it's-
the bathroom that you want to build, I'm sure that is part of the no water. I mean, you cannot build a bathroom, I would imagine, until the town decides what to do with the water,
Okay, all right.
all right? So,
Does he need to have a communication with the water department specifically on adding this mother-in-law apartment, or the in-law apartment?
we did get a letter from the water, just saying that the joint water voted in April to meet temporary suspension on all water hookups.
There'll be
They're
a,
doing a study on the supply and demand.
I don't know if they would
So
fall
this
under
could,
hookup
you know,
if the house is
The
already
building
hooked up.
inspector's probably gonna tell you,
It's this,
you
we
have to
can't
hold
add
off
another
on
bathroom.
your project.
They can't put another bathroom in the cellar right now.
Okay.
Oh, even though it's already a
Even though it's already-
pre-existing hookup?
Yeah. So any, as far as my understanding is, any continuation or approval of this application will be also subject to the consideration of the availability of water for the additional bathroom in the basement.
And I assume the kitchen as well, then, because there's a sink.
I would say the same
It's
thing.
good
So
to
make sure you check with the building inspector.
So the
Okay.
building inspector has to we have to make sure that you have the full authority of the building inspector to add the kitchen and add the bathroom.
Okay,
That's all I'm saying, is that whether we do or don't accept it, if we do, that contingent has to be on this approval.
of course,
Okay.
understood.
Is there any other questions that the board has for him?
Nope.
Do you want to hear from anybody else who's in attendance on this subject?
Want to open up
Do you wanna
to,
open it to the floor?
open it to the floor?
Open it to the floor.
Anyone?
Anyone have any concerns or anything? Okay, yes, we'll close it to the floor now.
Close it
We'll
to the
bring it
floor.
back to the board.
Yeah, and then have discussion with the board.
Like other additions that we have been looked at in the past, we seem to be seeing more of these type of applicants, adding in-law suites. Also noting that the condition of is the annual filing of a record of who's living at that apartment has to be continued on with that filing also.
Understood.
So that will need to be maintained on an annual basis.
Mhm.
But the only thing I would have recommended would have been to see a little more clear picture of what it was gonna look like at the end of the time, if you had drawings or something like that.
I did, actually, that's what I submitted before, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it.
I had not, that's,
Okay,
I wish I had seen that before, and that's the only thing I would have said, I would have liked to have seen in the submission of the plan, but I'm not gonna hold up my decision-making on that process, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion amongst the board on this?
Nope.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that the request to build an accessory apartment building pursuant to Abington laws 75-32I from existing unfinished basement property accessing apartment will be constructed in accordance with the requirements under 175-32-I and will be occupied by Janet P. McLaughlin as an owner of the property and mother-in-law street respectively to Ashley K. Connor and Jonathan A. Carnes, owners. With the continuation, with the existing contingency of water availability and the final approval by the building inspector, and the annual filing of a record report for who's occupying the space.
Yes.
Do I have a second for that motion?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Good luck.
And
Yeah, good luck.
pending,
Thank you very much.
Okay, let's see. The next one is the petition by Brockton Avenue Realty Trust, 5 Oak Street, Holbrook, for a special permit under 175-21-3 for proposed 4-unit residential building at 380 Brockton Avenue. People here representing that, you'd like to identify yourself and let us know who you are.
I'm Joe Mento from Brockton Ave Realty Trust. You don't need this.
No, I don't need that. Good evening, members of the board. I'm Austin Chartier with McKenzie Engineering. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Joe Mento and Brockton Ave Realty Trust. I'm the site civil engineer on the project. We prepared the survey and the site plans for the development. So the applicant has filed a special permit on behalf of the zoning board and the zoning bylaws, table of use regulations. for principal use 21-3, which is attached dwellings for single-family use, no more than 4 units. So, table of use regulations basically states that it requires a special permit within the highway commercial district for the use for residential. The applicant's proposing to construct a 4-unit, 2-bedroom building in a row house format. So the zoning bylaw says basically a parking spot for every bedroom and a half a space for every bedroom as well. So it's 10 parking spaces required, which we provide. It meets all the zoning setbacks and site coverage and everything like that. We're not asking for any variances. The parcel itself is about a half an acre, and it sits on Brockton Ave, Route 123. So as part of this project, we will need Mass DOT access permits for utility and curb cut. As part of the special permit, we filed site plan review with planning board, which we were at on Tuesday and presented to them. As part of the site plan review, Norwood Engineering has conducted a peer review, which we're in the process of responding to. But in general, I think the peer review is very good in terms of the use of the site. It was more technical comments than anything. The site drainage has been designed in full compliance with Mass DEP stormwater management regulations, and basically capturing everything and treating it on site, and it will outlet the back to the wetlands as it does today, which will reduce peak flows of volume and runoff. A full hydrological study was done as part of the project, which was filed. That's really the extent of the project, and I can turn it over to you guys for questions.
They're really using most of the property, huh? Seems to
Most
be-
of the upland, yeah.
Yeah.
So the idea of this, the Conservation Commission issued an order of conditions back in 2005 for a very similar use. The order of condition basically lapsed. Basically, the project was uneconomical for the developer. So basically, we took what was approved by the commission and are taking it back
You're
to
leaving a lot of
them.
land open, which is nice. That's a good sign.
Yeah, yeah.
So at the planning board, there were several issues that were raised, but one of them was the possible wetlands.
Correct.
And what was their other issue that, are you aware, the planning board was worried about?
In general, it was technical comments. I thought they had some one of the comments that came up was the water moratorium that's in place. We're aware of that.
Do you have any questions about drainage or anything like that? or-
No, the drainage was pretty well addressed. The landscaping plans were developed a little bit after the fact, so one of the comments was just make sure everything agrees with each other. To the east of the site, if you're looking at the plan here, is I think it's Portofino's restaurant. The pizza shop, yeah,
Yeah.
they currently have some encroachments on our property, so they had some comments about maybe putting up a fence there, which we're totally fine with and in agreement with, and just some more clarity on actual finished treatments.
But you've already been to the Conservation Committee with this
Nope.
before? Or not?
No, so not as part of this filing. We're on the agenda for October. So that is definitely something, we're aware of, that's gonna be something that we have to address. The planning board has some comments on grading up to the wetland and stuff. But so as far as the limit of work, it's what was originally approved back in 2005. I know that doesn't mean, that's what's gonna be approved, but we're pretty confident that, what we're providing on site and will,
Well,
go
probably
through.
the problem is that corner of the building that seems to be pointing directly towards the wetlands are probably,
Up in here.
yeah, they're probably concerned on the distance there.
Yeah.
Seems kind of tight right in there.
Yeah, exactly.
That is wetlands right there, that brown.
It is wetlands right there. The site was disturbed back in 2005. It is wetlands there, so we are aware of that, and that is a pinch point on the site, and we're hoping to address that either with mitigation or how, whatever the commission wants to see, basically, so. But in terms of, you know, the actual site itself, as I was mentioning, it has been disturbed in the past, so the applicant feels it's a good use for the property. It's kind of sitting vacant today. And I don't think that's an overdevelopment in terms of, you know, we're able to meet all the zoning requirements of the site as far as upland site coverage and parking, and still provide a little, maybe space out back if we level it off with the grading and stuff for backyard features, but
The question I would have to the board is, do we hold off on this vote, or do we vote and let the other boards litigate about the wetlands?
Well, it's not just the wetlands, that the planning board also had concerns that were not publicly or
Posted properly?
posted properly. So I just want to make sure that the planning board and the conservation board have their say in whatever we do. I'm not thinking this is not a bad idea. I'm not saying it's not a
Right,
bad
right.
idea. The property's been sitting vacant for a long
Right,
time.
Definitely, right.
So,
But there are a lot of questions out there from other boards. We were notified that.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, of course, we're gonna have to go through all the other boards as well.
And was that for our board that they were asking that, or was it for their board? when
it
they-
was their board, the planning, I'm reading from the planning board.
And this is amazing, we usually never hear from the planning board.
The planning board reviewed and continued the site plan reviews for this project. I think they're waiting for the planning board's original thing was that they're waiting for the Conservation Commission to make their final determination.
And what about the posting of the, I didn't,
There are it states that there were several issues that need to be addressed. One is the possible wetlands area. Based on that, they made a deferment to wait for the Conservation Commission to make their determination before they would bring it up again. So I guess it's up again in October with them?
November,
November.
yes,
So you won't be seeing the planning board till November?
correct, just because the conservation is in October. So we wanted to give ourselves a little window to resubmit
To play that,
everything.
answer the questions and stuff like
Correct.
that.
So now that you mentioned that, the wetland that was in question was as part of this, the original order of conditions that was approved by Conservation back in 2005. Proposed, basically a infiltration basin in the front left of the property,
Mhm.
which we're no longer proposing on this site. And so they just wanted to get the commission's thoughts on, to make sure that's not a jurisdictional wetland. I spoke to that briefly to them. Essentially, because it was constructed after 1996, it's not a jurisdictional wetland per Mass DEP stormwater management. That being said, I understand that they want the commissions to at least have a look at it. We
Okay.
did have a wetland scientist go out and flag the wetlands, and they did not flag that based on the information that they had at hand.
Okay,
So we're confident that that's not gonna be an issue.
okay. So basically, you're waiting for a conservation decision in October, a meeting with the planning board in November.
Correct.
So technically speaking, it would not be ineffectual to bring this back in December then, for the board to have both of those decisions in place. That's a proposed recommendation that we could use.
and you have time on that, right?
I-
There's time for that, right?
if they're waiting for the planning board in November, I would think
Yeah.
there's time, yeah.
I think it's well,
I
it's up
think
to
if
you
it-
guys, you're voting,
Right.
it might be a little premature to,
It does seem like there's too many open questions to put
and we're not
conditions
saying
on.
it's a bad project, this, other boards, unusual, other boards are giving us this information, and it may be,
We could continue without prejudice, can we not?
I think that we would have to.
Do we just want to defer this, reschedule?
Reschedule, no, we don't.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
Then I would recommend that I would recommend a recommendation that we schedule this for our December meeting, pending the outcome of the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board decision in October, November, and then look at what those results were in our December meeting to
Make
move
a
forward with this.
decision then.
That would be my recommendation.
Is that Is it acceptable to you
But
folks?
I just want to point out that that would be a recommendation of what I would recommend. I don't know if we want to open it to the floor. or
No,
not.
I was going to do that. next.
Okay, I'm just sorry.
I was just going to see if you guys had any questions or concerns about that.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to go in front of the Conservation Commission first, you know, in terms of the planning board, I guess, if that's what you guys want to see, then,
Yeah,
I
because
think-
it'd be ironed out a little bit. It doesn't look like a bad, I can tell you, it doesn't look like a bad project. Not here or there, but still, this is, we usually don't hear from the planning board and the conservation. There's obviously
okay.
issues that they want to take care of,
Yeah, yep.
so,
Yeah, we're confident we can address those, so.
okay.
Do you have any other comments or questions for us?
So as far as the rescheduling, so we'd basically re-advertise and everything in advance of the December meeting, or it would be continued?
It's a
Type-
continue.
It's a
Okay, so a
It's a
continuance.
continue.
This is a continuance.
Sure, okay. Yeah, that's, I think, if we needed to go in front of the conservation and everything and get everything squared away, then that works.
Thank
And
you
we
very
don't
much.
have to open it up to
Right.
anything.
I'd
Just-
like to open it, further discussion to the floor if anyone
No,
has.
no,
We don't have to.
We don't
We
have
don't have to?
to.
because
No,
we
we'll just
continue
go,
it?
we'll just continue it.
Okay. So we have to vote on the continuation though, right?
Yes.
I vote that we continue, I vote that the Abington Zoning Board of Appeals votes to continue the petition for the Brockton Avenue Realty Trust, 5 Oak Street, Holbrook, Mass., for the special permit under 175-21-3 for the proposed 4-unit residential building at 382R December meeting. That property being located on Assessors Map 15, Lot 138, in the HC zone.
Do I have a second for that motion?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a petition of
Thank you.
William O'Brien for,
It's a tough,
at 41 Platt Street, Abington, for a special permit and variance under 175-32-1 to exceed 50% area of main dwelling for an in-law apartment at 41 Platt Street.
Hello,
Hello.
I'm Samantha O'Brien.
Okay.
So we want to add an addition for an in-law. It's gonna be ground floor, so there's no stairs for our elderly grandparents that need help. They probably won't be driving much, so I'm not worried about cars in and out. They may bring a car from Florida, but I'm gonna be the primary driver, so that'll be me. Our driveway is super huge. The in-law is going to be 624 square feet, but we're also adding on 240 square feet onto our current dwelling, which would extend out the master bedroom, add a bathroom for us. Obviously, with the water issues, we can hold off on the bathrooms. We're not in an immediate rush for that. We just really need them to have somewhere to live for right now. So with adding on the 240 square feet to the current house is 864 square feet. Adding the 240, we'll be at 1104, which is just shy of the 50% of the addition being obviously the lesser of 900 square feet or 50% of the current dwelling. So it'll be close. As far as the addition off of our house, that'll be on the same level. We have a ranch, so it'll be, we have the foundation plans in here, but the addition of the in-law will be ground level, nothing underneath it, except for I think one part, depending on the water table. Yeah, so there is the gist of it. Yeah, I don't know. If there's any questions, I can address like the current house and what we have existing. I think I updated those plans so that you had the breakdown of the rooms in the current house and then the addition, but I also have like the bigger plans if you wanted to look at them.
that's probably a good idea.
Okay, so I have, this one is the copy that you have. And then there are 6 sheets. Number 1, this one is with the layout of our current, and then
Yep.
you'll see on the next one, it's kind of blank on that, but it's
Okay.
the details, and then there's like the grading and
So
all
what
of
were
that.
their questions?
My first question was, is looking at the physical residence that's currently existing and then the addition off to
Yeah.
the back. I noticed a solid wall across the back, so there was no physical way for your parents to get into your,
Into our current house?
right.
Oh, yeah.
So it's an in-law, so we don't
You don't
really
want
want
that?
them to, and it's on a
So
different
you
level.
can't get to them without going outside the house?
Correct, and that's what we want, because I don't mind putting on an addition to have them live with us and helping take care of them, but it would be really nice to have a separate space,
I would have thought.
realistically.
There are two egresses, correct? Yep.
So they'll have like their main door, which will be technically on the side, and then they'll have like their screened-in porch on the back, which obviously has the door to the backyard.
This is nice because you're not going up,
Yeah.
you know, and your property is very strange.
It's bowling alley. It's huge,
Yeah,
it's long, it's awkward, so we can't go to the side, and going up would look kind of
right.
silly, so I figured if we kind of like hid the addition out back, none of the neighbors are gonna be
Right, yeah. So it is a
complaining
strange
of an
lot.
eyesore. Yeah, might as well use up the space going back, we've got enough land for it, so.
So this is what I was looking
Good
for,
plan.
that we didn't get, which is the submission of elevation conservation. Makes a big difference.
So a crawl space?
Yeah, and then I think there was a full foundation under a section of it, just for like their extra storage.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, but then that would be dependent on like the water table and all of
Right,
that. So I
right.
think it was like specifically
Yeah, I had that issue too
drawn,
when I.
yeah, it was specifically drawn where it wouldn't be an issue, which
Yeah.
it kind of looks awkward, but it's still functional.
I had the same problem when I went, I had to make my basement smaller because
Oh,
of the
yeah.
water table.
It's so hard, yeah. And then our current basement, we always had water anyway, we just have French drain and pumps, and
Yeah.
so, if we do this one right, it would be
It's
good.
tough in Abington.
Yeah,
The beaver.
right?
There was a concern about, just a calculation of what amount of the lot would be covered by all the structures on the property.
Oh, okay,
Is it 20, you have to be under 20%, I believe.
under 20%, okay.
And so,
I think we have like just over 3/4 of an acre.
right, so,
And it's a weird,
It's so
it's
awkward.
like a,
yeah.
so it doesn't look like you're taking up,
We're not taking up that much
No.
space,
No,
really not.
I did.
I still have 2 yards, I split the yard in half, so the dogs have their own yards, and the goats have theirs, and then
There
we
you
have our
go.
own, so it's
The
like
goats,
the goats.
I didn't know the goats were there.
goats, chickens.
There you go. Looks like it's a
It's a
perfect place
bloody
for it,
farm.
actually.
They can't wait to come up here and just have some quality of life with all the animals and their
Yeah.
great-grandchildren, so it's really good.
Calculation for the 20% has to be on the application or on their plans,
Oh, for the land?
for the land coverage, yeah,
Okay.
percentage coverage. Just to satisfy our zoning enforcement agent
Okay.
and building inspector.
Would I have to have like the land surveyed again? I
I
did
don't
have a
think so.
survey done, but it wasn't with the current edition. We wanted to do an addition years ago. We got the plans paid for them and everything, then we didn't do it at all.
I believe
So
it
we
just
have
says
that done, but,
the applicant needs to prove the maximum lot coverage of 20% in the R20 zone district is not being exceeded. So I just think you have to
just prove that
prove
that
the
is.
square footage, based on the square footage, that's what it is.
Okay,
And you're probably not gonna have a problem with
I
it.
don't
You
think
should
so.
be- you should be good.
I just need to do some math. I can't do it on the spot.
I don't know.
I mean, look at that,
But
look at that
but
land.
that's what they're asking
Yeah.
for, so.
No, no, I know.
Yeah.
And so if we need to put that on the app, we need to get that on the app, that's all.
Okay,
It's obvious to me that you're under it, but, I mean, that's what they're looking for, so.
that's totally fine.
That'll be that'll be a piece of that.
So is that just adding up the square footage of what we're adding on and then the square footage of the lot?
Basically, you gotta
And
prove
making
that
sure.
the square footage of the lot is, and the square footage you're adding on falls within this R20 zone district of 20%
Okay,
of less, or less of the total
So
lot
that's the
coverage.
house, the addition, and the garage?
Everything, as far as I'm
Current-
concerned.
all of that.
Does it have to include the a driveway?
I don't think so.
we're
don't
not
think so.
adding
Think
any
so.
driveway.
No.
We already just did a brand new, we're not adding anything. We just dropped way too much money.
I think it's really on the addition, to tell you the truth. And-
Okay.
And any changes you're making to the physical property,
Sure,
so,
alrighty.
That should be pretty straightforward.
I think so.
Just making sure there's nothing here.
And the variance is because the lot is 75 feet wide rather than 100 for that.
No variance.
I remember writing that in, but the variance was, I think it was because we're technically exceeding the 50% of our current dwelling,
yeah.
because our house is just tiny, but making two elderly people live in 400 square feet just doesn't seem fair to me. So
Yeah,
that
that-
would just be like the only exceeding, because the new in-law is gonna be like 620, yeah,
Yeah, that makes
624 for square footage, and the current dwelling is currently 864, but we're adding on to that, so it'll be 1,104. Once that's done.
How's that, the screen porch is off the back, is there,
That is tentative. I
Okay.
don't know if that's gonna happen immediately or not, but yes, it is off the back, because she has a porch down in Florida right now, and she loves just smoking cigarettes out there, so we're like, all right, we can give you something like that if that's really what you want,
there'll
so,
be egress out off the porch though, right? If it is built?
correct.
Into the kitchen, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the dimensional, it's there, the lot width is 100 feet versus 75 was what they had, but seems like you're going in a pretty good direction there. It's a really deep lot.
I know, it's crazy.
Good
That's
for
why
the
I'll
boats,
never
I
leave.
guess.
Yeah, they love it.
Is there any other questions from the board?
I don't have any.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to open the floor for discussion.
Sure.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this topic? All right, we'll close discussion then, and on the floor, and we'll have discussion amongst the board.
So do you think, move forward with the condition of the proof of the under 20%?
That's, I think that and the water has to be, we
Oh,
just
yeah,
have
I
to,
think the water, yeah.
the water has to be in every decision we make tonight, so.
Yeah,
Other than that, I think we're pretty comfortable.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just another in-law, as we said,
Yeah.
you know? And it's obvious to me, the way they put it on the property, that they're not really causing any sight lines from the street level, it's all behind the house.
In the information you said before about notifying yearly,
Yeah, and the annual notification of
That should be
the
in
in-laws
there, too.
living, and that needs to be in our decision also, so.
Absolutely.
So do we have a motion for this petition?
Yeah, as soon as I could get on the right one,
Yeah.
I'll do that. On the application of Christina McMahon at 840 Randolph Street, Abington Way, is that the right one? I'm sorry.
No, it's
41 plat.
41
Plat.
flats.
41 plat. I'm ahead of myself. My apologies. On the petition of William O'Brien at 41 Platt Street, Abington, for the special permit for variance under 175-32-I for exceeding 50% of the area of the main dwelling for the in-law apartment at 141 Pratt Street. The property is located in Assessors Map 54, Lot 30, in the R Zone 20 zone, with the contingency of the availability of water, with the contingency that the applicant file the zoning, the applicant needs to provide proof of maximum lot coverage of 20% in the R20 zone for district and not to be exceeding. And also, they file an annual report with the town on the use of the property.
Perfect.
Do we have a second for that motion?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? All right, thank you very much.
Good
Excellent.
luck.
Do you
Yep.
need those copies? I think I have some extras in there too. If you want to keep the big ones, you absolutely can.
We don't have, we didn't have them, but as long as they're on file with the,
I
With the-
submitted just one copy of like the general, I think it was this page, yeah. I
okay.
submitted this one, so I can submit,
Would you please submit a copy of the rest of that
absolutely.
to the zoning board, please, just so we have it on file?
Should I do that?
As soon as you
when I do
can.
the-
Yeah, as soon as you can. Very helpful, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Onward. The next item on our agenda is the petition of Christina McMahon, 841 Randolph Street, Abington, for 1.57-foot lot frontage variance and 2.38-foot lot width variance under 175-29 at 0 Randolph Street, also known as Lot 1D. And please identify yourself and how you represent the...
Sure. Good evening. My name is Attorney Sean Riley of 500 Washington Street in Abington Center. I represent the applicant who's with me here tonight, Christina Makowitz McMahon. We are here for requesting a 19-inch lot frontage variance and a 29-inch lot width variance. I submitted to the board the required application, and enclosed and attached to the application was a plan that kind of gave you an aerial view of the acreage owned by the Makowitz family, and also some photos regarding the abutting private cemetery, which we'll get into discussion about that a little bit later. And there's also the required assessor's information. Frank Makowitz first purchased this land on Randolph Street in 1954, and then over the years continued to purchase more abutting land around his home until he owned almost 14.5 acres. The only land that he couldn't purchase was the parcel containing the private cemetery on Randolph Street. Frank owned almost all the land with frontage on this section of Randolph Street, with the exception of that cemetery parcel, which sat right in the middle of his 14.5 acres of land. Frank was a farmer and purchased the surrounding land to protect some open space. He was also the tree warden for the town of Abington for most of his life. He lived in that house at 841 Randolph Street and ran his own farm stand and his landscaping business from the portion of the land located to the right of the cemetery, which is the locus that we're talking about tonight. He operated that landscaping and farm business for many, many years. If you lived in Abington, then everybody knew Frank Makowitz. Frank had 4 daughters, Jane, Andrea, Marnia, and Christina. Christina being here with me tonight. Christina actually purchased the family home from her dad and has kept it in the family ever since, and that's the house at 841 Randolph Street, which is on the left side of the cemetery. After Frank passed away, the 4 sisters inherited the remaining 11.7 acres of land, and they remained committed to keep that land in its same use for as long as possible. So they have been renting that portion of the land to the right of the cemetery for several years to other small farmers and landscaping companies. Christina's sister Jane, who's a friend of mine, suddenly passed away a few years ago, which resulted in the remaining sisters coming together to discuss how to best divide up their inherited 1/4 share of Dad's land, since they recognized that they were all getting older and needed to prepare their own estate plans for their individual families. So much of the 11.5 acres of land is high and dry, with some wetlands potentially located in the rear of the property. They have been approached in the past by subdivision developers who inquired if they might consider selling the land so that a residential subdivision roadway could be constructed to develop this property to its full potential, creating somewhere between 6 or 7 new house lots if a cul-de-sac was constructed, or possibly anywhere between 10 to 12 lots if a subdivision road was looped through the property. The sisters have resisted these offers, but as they grow older, the time has come for decisions to be made and for the land to be sold so each of their families can retain their rightful share of their father's estate. The current tenant of the land to the right of the cemetery is a landscaping company. Contacted the sisters to ask if he could purchase a portion of the land that he's currently using so he wouldn't have to move his business. The sisters, however, were concerned that if they sold that gentleman the whole 11.5 acres, that he could just resell the property to a developer who might put a street in, and they would have no control over that. So the sisters then jointly proposed to sell only about 2.5 acres to the landscaping company, and then to have Christina retain the remaining 9 acres of backland, which would be combined with and added to her 2.6 acre house lot. So she would then own approximately 11.5 acres. Because Christina agreed to take her share of the estate in the form of the back land, her remaining 3 sisters agreed to sell the 2.5 acres and split the sale price 3 ways. They also agreed to accept a price of $400,000 for that 2.6 acre parcel to be sold. They recognized that they could have sold the 11.5 acres for far more money, but they valued the ability to keep the bulk of their father's land in its current condition as open space. A plan was drafted to create that 2.6 acre lot to be sold, which included all of the frontage located to the right of the cemetery. Christina already owned all the frontage to the left of the cemetery. The buyer agreed to the price, and the plan was submitted to the buyer's mortgage company, but the mortgage company rejected the loan because the appraiser couldn't certify that that one 2.6 acre lot with over 200 feet of frontage was worth the agreed price of $400,000. The appraiser and the bank, however, came back to the family and said, if you split the 2.6 acres into 2 lots, then I can appraise each lot as a $200,000 lot, and you get your loan and you get your sale of the 2.5 acres, and Christina would still get to keep the 9 acres. Surveyor Carl Garvey was asked to revise that plan to split the 2.5 acre parcel in 2 lots, and that's where the roadblock was discovered. Our bylaws require that a new lot in this R30 zone be at least 30,000 square feet and have 110 feet of frontage. Lot 1A has 51,845 square feet, well over the 30,000 minimum, and the required 110 feet of frontage. Lot 1B, why we're here tonight, has 64,936 square feet, which is more than double the 30,000 minimum, but it only has 108.43 feet of frontage, which is 1.57 feet or 19 inches short. For lot width, Lot 1A complies, but Lot B, the same Lot 1B, is 29 inches short. We've investigated the possibility of purchasing a 19-inch or 29-inch strip from our abutter, the private cemetery, but we soon found this to be impossible. The phone number on record at the assessor's office for the out-of-town contact person is no longer in service. There's no tax bill sent for this cemetery to anyone because they don't get a tax bill, and the last known address is now out of date. But even if we were successful in contacting the owner of the cemetery, we can't purchase a strip of land along the right side of the cemetery because a grave site is situated just inside on the other side of that existing stone wall. Photos of the grave site from 1787 were included in my application package. I think you have those attached to show the burial site of the Dunham babies. The shape of this Makowitz property is unique in that its frontage is interrupted by a cemetery, which is certainly unique to this property and to this area of town, to the zoning district. The possibility of purchasing more land to solve this 19-inch and 29-inch measurement is simply not available, as the placement of the grave site was not a hardship created by the Makowitz family. The literal enforcement of the frontage lot width requirements, meaning a denial of a 19-inch and 29-inch variance, would create substantial hardship to the Makowitz sisters, as they would be required to return to the idea of selling the entire property or a larger piece to a subdivision developer and reduce the amount of open space to be preserved. And relief can be, and we would argue should be granted, because it is not, quote, substantially detrimental to the public good, and it would not nullify or substantially derogate from the intent of the frontage and lot width bylaws. Those requirements are in place to make sure that a new house or a new building are situated in lots which are wide enough so houses are not too close together and some open space is reserved for yard areas. In this circumstance, Lot 1A completely conforms, and Lot 1B is situated next to a cemetery. So there will be no structure built on the cemetery that might be too close to any potential future structure built on this lot. And thus the approval of a 19-inch and 29-inch variance will then allow 9 acres to be preserved and will prevent a subdivision road from being constructed on the property. Taken together, these two lots would have almost twice the amount of lot area as required by the bylaw. So for all these reasons, we would respectfully request that the zoning board vote to approve the requested frontage and lot width variances for the Makowitz family so they can proceed with Christina's plan to preserve the backland and sell the front parcel. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the board on this?
Yeah, I do understand, now, the separation of A and B, that was done by the family just recently?
Kyle Garvey drew up the plan.
Just recently?
Yes.
So we've created our hardship here, correct? Correct?
No. Excuse me, I'm just giving you a copy of, this was the first plan. The first plan that I described where we were gonna sell the 2.6 acres to the existing landscaping owner. That was what the plan was, and that would block development of the property. Because of banking regulations, appraisal regulations, it won't work that way. They have to have two lots that would be valued at least $200,000 each. The fact that we are short by 19 inches was not our creation. Mr. Makowitz bought all the land he could buy back in the 50s and 60s. And we unfortunately have a cemetery next to us that we can't buy more. It's impossible. So that 19-inch shortfall was not created by us. That's the way it's been existing since 1964, really.
No, because this was one whole lot, correct?
Right, but the amount of frontage
Right.
hasn't changed since 1964.
But by
Actually, before
splitting the lot,
1964.
you're creating a hardship. Now, what's stopping someone from buying her house in 20 years and building behind here?
Nothing.
Nothing, right.
Nothing.
So-
We talked to the neighbors. That's true of anybody's house. That's a
Right,
hypothetical.
exactly. I mean, that's, I'm just saying, that could be the future too. Is that wetlands or is that buildable?
We haven't flagged it because we have no intention of developing the property, but one of the maps that I provided to you from Mass GIS shows some areas which would have potentially some wetland areas out back there. But there's certainly, I would think, some buildable land out there, yes.
So right now with those two lots, is the same person still planning on buying it?
Yep.
So they're not gonna,
They can do whatever
He's
they want.
They can
represented
do
to
whatever they
us,
want with it.
he's represented to us that he just wants to keep his business there. And in order to get the value in the appraisal and the loan, this is the procedure we would go through. We're not changing anything else there. In the future, could he sell it? Sure, just like the Macwoods could sell it. That's true of anybody in any piece of property. But this is not a use question, this is really the dimensional question. Is this de minimis variance acceptable and approvable, given the fact that we have a cemetery next to us, and it's not going to change the character of the neighborhood? If anything, it's gonna protect the neighborhood by keeping the majority of the property as not buildable, because we're taking away the access for the backland unless someone decides to buy a house and rip it down. But that's a hypothetical that's true almost anywhere.
I just go back to, you're separating the property for whatever reason, and you're creating a hardship. That's how I look at it.
I understand how you're looking at it. I just think the interpretation, I would challenge that. I think
And-
we have to look at also the big picture. And a denial of these variances would put them back into the situation where the only people they could sell to at that point would be a subdivision developer. It's ironic because you look at a financial hardship, they could make more money if they did that. But it's not only financial, there's other hardships and other factors, and one of them is the desire to preserve the family estate and to preserve the open land. This is how they can do that, and there are two neighbors here with us tonight, who I believe would like to see the majority of this land preserved as open space, but only if a 19-inch and 29-inch variance is approved.
But it's not gonna be open space.
No,
Anyone
the
can
nine
develop
acres
that.
out back.
Right now, it can be open space, but if somebody wanted to buy the house and build back there, it's not wetlands, open space. It's not. I wouldn't
I
say
can
that.
assure you, as long as Christina Mackwitz McMahon
Right.
owns that property,
Yeah,
okay, that is not going to be developed property.
okay.
Go right up to the microphone, Christina.
Yeah. Well, we have to open the floor for discussion.
Well, she's the owner, so she
the
can
owner.
speak,
Okay, go
definitely.
ahead, sorry.
Just your name and address.
My name is Christina McMahon, and I live at 841 Randolph Street. My father passed away in 2008, and we've all four of us, well, and my youngest sister's widow, we've owned this land, and we just haven't known what to do with it. But I bought the house, and it's my backyard.
Yeah.
It's not my estate, it's my backyard.
You're right, yeah.
And I do not want to sell it to someone who will, develop it. And believe me, I have a.
Well, it's beautiful back there. I've been back there.
Yeah, I have a plan from Wheatley that I cannot look at Wheatley Surveyors. And God love Russ, but I can't look at it. It's got like 20 house lots in it.
Yeah.
How can you do, anyways. So this property has been, we've had people who have used it the same way my father used it, as landscaping and gardening. And now it's come to a time where we have to do something with it. My one sister's in Florida, one's in Connecticut, the other family is up in Maine. I'm the one left behind, and until Sean came up with this idea, this solution of, instead of selling it as one big parcel, you use the two lots for building houses, because that's what people want. They want house lots. So if we can get $400,000, this is what my sisters want to do, and my brother-in-law, Bill Downs. This is what they want. I'm perfectly willing to give up my share of the inheritance to keep that land open. In fact, some of the land is in Weymouth,
Right.
and it abuts the reservoir land.
That's a
And-
beautiful place back there. I know.
Yeah, it is. It's a very unusual spot, and there aren't very many of them left
True. You're right.
in Abington, and.
You might want to talk to the town and have donate as a preserve, like, in your name.
Yeah, no, it'll be the Frank Mackwitz Memorial,
There you go.
whatever. But, I'm just saying that we've come to a point where we need to do something.
Yeah.
And I'm the one that's left there. I'm the one that has to keep the ball rolling. And
Yeah.
it hasn't been rolling at all until Sean came along and offered us a solution. So I'm really hoping that you'll approve this variance. simply because we've got to move on with this, and this is the only way to do it, other than, as Sean said, throwing the entire thing on the market, which I do not want to do. And then, I'm like my father, you gotta, the land, you gotta keep the land. But I can't keep the land the way I would like it unless we can sell these two pieces of property, divide up the estate, and then we each go on in our different ways. You have any questions for me?
I don't have.
I don't.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh,
I'd like to open the floor for discussion for anyone else who wants to address this.
Did the planning board get us?
Anyone else wants to come up?
No,
All right, we'll
planning
close
board.
discussion
No.
from the floor
It's
and
not part of it.
petitioner and discuss amongst the board members.
Give me a minute.
Doesn't look like they can divide it up. Put a road or a driveway into a back lot that wouldn't meet the frontage requirements at all.
We do realize variances are very difficult, not easily.
I do, and I
Look
think I went through the criteria, literal enforcement, uniqueness of the lot. I mean, the fact that there's a cemetery in the middle of this property, show me another property in Abington that's like
Yeah,
this.
right,
It's
yeah.
unique,
Yeah,
right? And had it been another lot owner, we might have been able to buy, 29 inches and solve the problem.
right,
We can't do that because there's literally a grave
yeah,
right
Right
there.
on the property line.
right, exactly,
Been there
So
multiple times.
yeah.
there's a hardship there, and we are trying not to overdevelop the property by seeking the variance. Big picture, I think Christina said it well, it's a desire to limit any potential future to this property.
For the time being.
It's all time being, everything's a time being.
Everything's time
Everything
being.
changes
Yeah,
in 24
exactly.
hours, and tomorrow it changes
That's right.
again.
It's,
I'm good, if you guys,
I'm good.
I'm okay with this.
I'm not saying you do not.
Okay, sorry.
I've got nothing else, and if you wanna,
If you want to make a,
I asked if there was any more
Oh,
input from the
it-
floor.
is there anybody?
No.
Oh, back to the board then.
Yeah, right, then. So, do we have a motion?
you want to make one?
I'm good.
I'm good. I'm good? This is unbelievable.
We're appreciating you tonight, thank you.
Yeah, well, not too much, please. On the petition from Christina McKinnon, 84 Randolph Street, Abington, Mass. for 1.57-foot or 19-inch lot variance and a 2.38-foot, 29-inch lot with variance under 175-29 at 0 Randolph Street, Lot 1B. The property is on Assessor's Map 62, Lot 5, and Zone 30, R30 zone, with the restrictions of any water connections have to be approved by the water department.
we're not even talking about development.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
I know.
But we should
But
put in there that
I'm
we
just
did
a-
find a hardship with the cemetery there.
Noting that there is a hardship with the property line cemetery abutting Lot 1B on the left-hand side, preventing any access to purchased land to make it qualified buildable lot. I vote in favor that we move forward with that decision.
I have a second for that motion.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you for your time.
Good luck.
Yep,
and
good luck.
Welcome aboard, Tony, good luck.
Hope everything works out for you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks, Sean.
all right. There's one we should probably address fairly quickly, which is, there was a petition from Brian Conley and Carrie Hallahan at 26 Jennings Drive for a special permit to legalize an existing in-law apartment for new owners under 175-32-1 at 26 Jennings Drive. The property is located on Assessor's Map 13, Lot 65 in the R40 zone. Is anyone here representing the, either Connolly, Mr. Connolly or Ms. Callahan tonight? We got an opinion from the zoning enforcement agents zoning enforcement agent that because this property had a building permit from 1998 that mentions an in-law apartment, and they didn't subsequently have different requirements imposed until 2005, that this in-law apartment is actually grandfathered in. Do we have to approve that?
It just says here that,
Will continue.
no, I don't think it's going to continue. I think they are, where is it? Withdrawing without prejudice, their application.
Right, so we just have to acknowledge that.
Yes,
and-
definitely, I would.
But we don't have to vote to approve it.
I would vote for it just to cover yourselves,
Okay.
definitely. Do-
Do we have a motion to approve their withdrawing without prejudice?
On the petition of Brian Conley and Kerry Halloran, 26 Jennings Drive, Abington, Massachusetts, for the special permit for legalizing existing in-law apartment for new owners under 17521-I and 26 Jennings Drive on the property located at Assessors Map 13, Lot 65 in R40 zone. I apologize. Continue without prejudice?
Withdraw.
Withdraw.
Without prejudice.
To withdraw without prejudice application, based on the fact that it has a pre-existing condition that it's grandfathered in.
I'll second that motion.
Second motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Unopposed? All set on that?
Moving right along.
Okay,
Yeah, we
down
know.
to the last item on the agenda for the evening. The petition of David Knoll, 30 Orchard Lane, Abington, for a finding per Chapter 40A, for Section 6, to change current pre-existing non-conforming two-family dwelling to a three-family dwelling under Sections 175-72 at 78 Center Avenue. Property is located on Assessor's Map 23, Lot 138, in the R30 zone. We have someone who's representing, or is, Mr. Knoll.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Attorney Barry R. Crimmins of 909 Washington Street in Stoughton. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Mr. Donald Knoll. Unfortunately, my client had a conflict tonight, so he could not attend, which I trust is not an issue. I'm here on his behalf. This is an application, as the chair mentioned, for a so-called Section 6 finding pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 48, Section 6, as well as the local bylaws, Section 175-72. By way of brief background, my client purchased this property, which was built approximately in 1900, according to the assessor's records. He purchased the property 4 years ago, in September of 2017. At the time, it was represented to him and was inhabited as a three-unit dwelling. The first floor unit, second floor unit, and a basement unit. And it had operated, at least under his ownership, in that manner since he purchased the property 4 years ago. Up until January of this year, due to an incident with the tenant in the basement unit, it was pointed out to him that that basement unit was not a legal habitable unit. So at that point, we were contacted by the client, and we subsequently, once plans were prepared, which I trust you all have, the site plan and the floor plans, we put together the application for the Section 6 findings, submitted that to the board. A couple of things I'd like to point out. So the application, in effect, is to allow for that basement unit to, if you will, be legalized. If this board were to approve the Section 6 finding, we would then pursue through the building permit application the appropriate access and egress issues through the building department and the fire department. We've spoken to the fire department already about the process. We've spoken to the building department already about the process. There will be no exterior construction to occur at the dwelling. In fact, all of the renovations will be in the interior, with the exception there'll be a new door and a new access window constructed as well. But other than that, there will be no exterior renovations, so we're not changing the footprint, we're not changing the square footage of the building. The building exists, the layout of the apartment, the basement unit, basically exists, but it will be reconfigured. You have a copy of a schematic floor plan that was put together by our project architect to show generally the proposed layout of that basement unit. The parking that exists on site, under the bylaws requirements of 2 spaces for each, there are two bedroom units, which would require 4 spaces. The one bedroom unit requires the 1.3 for a total of 5.3. We have 7 spaces on site. So once again, nothing is going to change in the exterior, whether to the building or to the site. And all of the renovations are to the interior. So our application, the property is in the R30 zone. As you folks are certainly well aware, in the R30 zone, even a 2-family dwelling is not a permitted use. So the existing dwelling is a so-called pre-existing non-conforming use. As such, we are proposing to change that to the 3-family dwelling, which would also be a non-conforming use, but such a change is permitted both under your bylaw, section 175-72, as well as, again, chapter 48, section 6 of the general laws. So I think, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I think that basically is the crux of our application. I'm happy to answer any questions that the members may have.
So basically, it was considered a 2-family, yet there was 3 families living there, correct? And,
Excuse me, correct.
and they got caught, basically?
Well, there was an incident at the property, and at that time, the police and fire were called, and at that time, it was pointed out to my owner that the basement unit was not a legal unit.
What do we have from? We have a lot, actually. Yeah, there's a lot. All that.
There, on the plan there, there's a shared driveway or
There's an easement across my client's property to access the property in the back that actually fronts on Lake Street.
right. Would changing this to a legal 3-unit change the use of that driveway, or
No.
maybe we can address that further?
Is someone still living in that?
No. Gentleman moved out at the time of the incident in January.
Okay. Did you
So-
say how,
Go ahead.
how long this current owner's owned the house? I missed
4
that.
years.
4 years.
Purchased it in September of 2017.
When they purchased it, was someone already living in that?
Yes. Yeah,
Apartment?
yeah.
Illegally.
I don't know for how long, because I
Yeah,
have no
right.
history.
No, yeah.
No, that's not for you to
No,
answer, I
yeah,
agree.
that's
I have no
that's fine.
history prior to my
That's
client's
correct.
ownership.
Yeah, no.
Let's see, based on the application, how can they currently pre-existing non-conforming use change from a residence to a commercial?
When you go from 2 to 3,
You go to
you
commercial?
go to commercial.
Commercial.
Because
And
it's 3 is a multi-use dwelling, and under the guidance of our,
But this is not a commercial,
It's not a commercial use.
not a commercial.
no,
area.
but a 1 or a 2 family is considered a 1 or a 2 is considered residential. A
3,
3 or more is considered commercial in our mindset, in our building mindset,
yeah.
for our understanding of what commercial property versus residential property is.
And it's
So
a
by-
residential area.
It's a
correct?
residential area. By making it a 3-family, you're actually, it goes, according to our building inspector, it goes from residential property to commercial, and it's not even a commercial zone area, so.
If I may?
Yep,
through
you may.
Mr. Chairman, I guess I would have to say I respectfully disagree with the building inspector's
And you're entitled to.
interpretation. That's one thing. However, regardless of that, I don't know that it changes the substance of the application before you, because under both the state statute as well as the local bylaw, it talks about a change in use. So the very premise is that it's not a conforming use. both the two-family as well as the three-family. So those, you know, if you want, I can read the section of the bylaw, you folks are certainly familiar with it. And it talks about, you know, that it's not, the change would not create readily observable differences in the use from the two-family to three-family. I respectfully suggest that that's certainly not the case. So regardless of whether it were to be classified as a commercial use, which, again, I think that's the first time I've ever heard of a three-family being classified as commercial simply because it's a three-family, but
Well, we're talking,
even if that.
I think he's talking about the zoning,
Right,
zoning.
right. No, I understand that.
not saying that it's a commercial,
Property.
build property.
Right.
It's the zoning we're talking about, the area.
Okay, okay. But I think, again, nevertheless, I think the application can still stand on its merits because of the language that both the statute and the bylaw talk about. They talk about the board looking at whether or not under the state statute, is it going to be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing non-conforming use? Again, I would suggest that that's not the case. And under the local bylaw, it talks about readily observable differences in the character. And again, I think even if this basement unit never existed, if this were just being proposed new now as a basement unit, to go from a two-unit dwelling to a three-unit dwelling, you know, I certainly think that meets the criteria under both the statute and the bylaw.
Do we have any more questions?
Yeah, I think that we should have our town council look at this,
Sure.
just to have her, because I hate to make a wrong judgment here on the zoning
Right.
part.
Um,
That's what I suggest. I mean, I just think that,
I tend to agree with you on that, but we have to see if there's any more people having.
oh, definitely no, but I just want to bring up
Yeah,
the,
that's a very good
the
idea.
fact that we really should probably dig into this a little deeper than,
Right, continue it and then,
right. So you're 100% right if you want to open that up.
right.
I'm good.
Okay, do you have any more questions for him? Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Please, come on up.
Thanks.
I submitted a letter to the board.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you get that?
If you could let her come to the microphone.
Did you want to read it, or?
No, well, you guys can read it.
Okay.
We did.
We live on 17 Lake Street. We've lived there for over 40 years in the town. We grew our kids up in the town. Our driveway, we have a right-of-way right next door to this apartment. And it was, and has been, a two-family. Somewhere along the line, somebody listed it as a three-family. It was never approved. And we would have had been notified, and no matter when, we would have been against it because we shared that common driveway. So the more tenants you have put in there, the more access, they don't live there. We have to deal with this every day of those cars coming in and out. And street parking is ridiculous because of a corner apartment over there. Somehow, they had an illegal apartment downstairs. You know, we try to be neighbors that just mind our own business or whatever. It was not legal. There was only one exit. They had an emergency that required the firemen to go in, and that's how this all came about. But that was never listed. We've been there for over 40 years. It was a two-family with a right-of-way into that. And to think that somebody can just change it, we live on Lake Street. That's a residential area. It's not a commercial. I don't see how somebody can just all of a sudden say they want 3 incomes when they don't even live at the property and say that we want to add this. Plus, I don't know the building, I don't know what's been approved, but it looks like they were extending the little basement thing that was down there into a garage area, and I don't even know if ground soil and all that stuff's been tested. I don't know how far along in the process. We never worried about it because we just knew it wasn't legal. You know, it's not listed. And somewhere that has to get changed, because if somebody else buys it in the interpretation that it is a 3-family when it's not, it's not. I mean, I feel bad if they bought it, but anybody in their right mind, they couldn't have bought that property without knowing that was an illegal apartment. There was only one exit. I mean, I'm not a zoning board, but I do know fire. And we had somebody die across the street. We witnessed them die in an apartment across the street. If anybody's lived in the town long enough, there was a lady who couldn't get out the window because of it. So we are adamantly against it. And we were very nice. We don't want problems. We just want to be able to use our driveway as it's stated in our title of the house. We have rights for it. They can't be blocked with the increased number of people. And then there's this whole water thing. I mean, I don't know how many more people are gonna be living there. But, you know, we had an incident where the lady had a quarrel with one of the tenants, wanted him to sign something. She literally blocked him in the driveway. They had to call the police. We had to wait for over an hour to be able to get out of our driveway. We come in and out of that driveway, you know? I think just recently, she had a yard sale. We were away, we didn't mind, but again, I'm sure people were in and out. With that in our title, it is explained to us that they can't block us from using it. So to say it has no dramatic effect on anybody, unfortunately, we're the only ones.
Right.
Because if anybody knows the property, the Grove, the island pond is right there to the left. Across the street is Center Ave, and across that is Lake Street. So there's no other property abutting it,
Yep.
but it directly affects us.
Okay. And that's why I think it'd be a good
And I
idea.
don't think you can just change things like
Right.
that without, I mean, it was done illegally, and now they're trying to backtrack.
So you have that right away, that's your right away?
Yes.
She should stay at the, you could stay at the microphone if you have any more questions.
Do you see that her house is 17, and that's the right of way for her?
Right,
You
yeah,
just
I
did-
drove by that the other
Right,
day.
okay.
Yeah, if you've seen the house, you'll see it, where the house kind of behind it, you know? And it's been like that since 1900. The house has been sold like 6 times, you know? And I just want this matter resolved, because I don't want to be coming back here in another 2 years. This is our home. We
Yeah,
don't,
there's
it's
a lot
not a
of-
house.
lot of issues.
Yeah,
That's it.
and it just, I don't even know how it got this far. I honestly don't. I don't, you know, you try not to complain or say much, and when
It does affect you because you do have that access right there.
Exactly. And, you know, they're not there 24/7. If there's an incident, I mean, through the years, there has been a couple of times where we have to go over and tell them, because it's not only the people living there, it's their visitors that come to visit them, or if they have a kid that drives them, they want to make this illegal apartment bigger so that it would attract more people in there. You know, it's just a whole series of things. And like I said, we're just quiet neighbors. We just
Yeah.
don't want any trouble. We just want
Well,
to stand up.
we appreciate you coming up and speaking, because that's what we need,
Yeah.
more people
And
to,
if you read, I did divide a letter and sent it in. And my husband had talked to her and told her from the start, before they got all involved in this, that we would not be in favor of it because of the driveway. And we told her, I don't know how the real estate agent, if they used one, ever got away with that, because my husband had a friend that's in real estate in this town, and they wouldn't even touch it, because they knew right
I
off
see.
it was a problem. So I don't know. And then if you get an insurance, if you had to take out a mortgage, don't you have to get that inspected? I just don't know how this has gone on over and over without anybody, until the firemen went in there and said, wait a minute, this is wrong.
love those fire guys.
Huh?
Love those fire guys.
Yeah, sure did.
Thank you very much. Seems like you would have some more comment, Gary?
If I could just respond briefly. We're certainly aware of the easement that they enjoy on our property to access their property. It's shown on the plan. We're well aware of it. Whether this building were used as a 2-family or a 3-family, that easement's still going to be there. It still has to be respected. We can't do anything to prevent them from utilizing the easement for access. We're aware of that and fully intend to abide by that.
Okay.
So I understand the concern. You know, as you mentioned in the context of one of the previous cases, you know, 2-bedroom doesn't mean there's going to be X number of cars. It could be more, it could be less. But we meet the parking requirements based on the bylaw for the number of bedrooms that exist in the building. Would be happy to either stripe those spaces to make sure it's clear where the parking is allowed, and to put up signage to show where parking is not allowed, if that would satisfy their concern. But I think the concern, as I said, is going to be there, whether it's a 2 or a 3. It's a question of making sure that my client's respectful of their rights in the right-of-way,
Right.
which I can assure the board he will be.
But the more it goes back.
Did you want to get back?
Please go to the
It
microphone.
goes back to, your client, we have nothing personally against it. It's just that we know owners come and go and tenants come and go. And the more people you have in a set area, the more chance of incidents happening. And they don't live there. So we're the ones that would have to deal with it. I just don't see how you can all of a sudden say, well, I want to change this house into a 3-family. And when we were told it was a residence, it is an R30. So I just don't understand how it even got this far. I really.
And that's probably a good reason for our town council to look at this and get her opinion.
Well, even regardless of that, the whole thing that it's infringing upon our rights, and we've been in the house, we've been a taxpayer for over 40 years. I just think that somehow you have to, somebody else just bought it 4 years ago,
Yeah.
and it's gonna mean increased rental for them. But like I said, when they bought the house, I don't care what it was listed at, anybody that bought and went into that house would know that it's not a 3-family. So I feel bad for them, but you have to take responsibility for your own actions
I'm
too.
surprised it passed the fire inspection, actually.
Well, I don't think it was. It couldn't have,
Because when you sell a property, they have to come in and inspect it.
That's what I mean, and even the mortgage, if they took out a mortgage on it, I don't know how, this is what I mean, I never thought it would
Yes.
become an issue, because I never thought how it got passed
Right.
in it, and even the building inspector, I don't know how. It looks like they're taking over part of a garage. I don't even know if you have to do soil testing or whatever on that, or.
Okay, well, we appreciate everything you said.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And as just a final response, I appreciate your concern. I think I mentioned earlier that, obviously, if this application were to be approved, we still have to go through a process of a building permit application that would have to be reviewed by the fire department, signed off on by the fire department, and approved by the building department, obviously.
Yep, that's all true.
All right, thank you very much. Any other commentary from other members of the audience? Okay. Thank you very much. I'll close the discussion now and revert to the board for our deliberations.
Yeah, I'm thinking, just my opinion, of course, that town council should take a look at this and give it her opinion, since it is, the building inspector does have a lot of questions, and they got caught. So, that's another thing. I mean, it's been there, they've had it for a while. It's been identified as an illegal apartment. So I think, it's important that our town council takes a look at this.
And if they were doing modifications to the third unit that they want, would they also have to address water use issues? Because there's only permitted in it too.
Yeah, I mean, there possibly could be the water issues too, but meaning that the town is not letting anybody connect up to water. I know there's probably already a connection.
There is an existing.
That's all gonna have to be figured out later on. It's an illegal apartment, so, bottom line is, we really should check with our legal, with Amy. It's a,
So their approach would be to continue this until another meeting pending discussion with town council?
yes, definitely.
Can I get a motion to that effect?
And, well, we gotta make sure, is that okay with you? I mean, you okay with that? Okay.
Continue without prejudice?
Just continue to the next meeting.
Okay, just
Okay?
gonna do that?
Well, until Amy can give us a finding on it.
Well, that's what, I want to make
Yes,
sure I'm clarifying that.
That's what I think.
Okay.
We should have a finding real quick from her.
Right. But don't you have to continue it to a date certain?
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
will
yeah.
continue to a
Yeah,
date. The next meeting or the meeting after that? What do you say?
Well, I don't, what is, Amy usually?
Usually the next meeting.
The next meeting's the
Amy,
14th,
Amy
so
will look over this and give us her,
a little bit of a month.
definitely give us her opinion.
On the petition of Donald Knoll of 30 Orchard Lane, Abington, Mass., for finding of Chapter 48, Section 6 and change current pre-existing non-conforming two-family dwelling to a three-family dwelling, Section 175-72 at 78 Center Ave. The property is located in Assessor Map 23, Lot 138, in the R30 zone. I would recommend that we vote to continue to our next meeting, which will be October 14th, pending a review by our legal department of this application and any questions thereat in. So I would like to move this forward to the next meeting and continue it till the next meeting.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Well, see what Amy has to say about it.
Who is town council?
Amy Kessler, help me out with the last name, I can't.
Kessler.
Kessler.
Thank
Amy
you.
Kessler.
That concludes our agenda items. I have a motion to close the meeting.
Are you kidding me?
Wow.
I want this to go on forever, no.
Well, you know, I thought it was gonna go on forever.
Motion to end this meeting tonight.
Second?
Motion adjourned.
Thank you.
Second.